Hey, Laurel Ridge Robotics Club. I unfortunately cannot be at our meeting today, so I am going to show you a couple of tricks on the Lego robot that I have here at home, and we're going to look at a couple of different tools. One is the color sensor, also the ambient light sensor, which is the same tool. We will look at using the medium motor, and we will look at a very simple piece of flow control. So we're going to show this robot how to go out, pick up a minifig, and come back using those tools. Okay, so you can see I have a very simple tread robot that has a color sensor here in front, and it's looking down at the paper so we can see what color is underneath. It also has a medium motor here on top, and that controls this arm to go get the minifig. And those are all connected to the sensor ports and to the motor ports. Perfect. All right, so as you saw at the beginning, I have this field of white paper with a yellow area on one side and a black area on the other, and there's a minifig on the yellow that I want my robot to go use the medium motor to lower this cage that I built, and then he will grab it and bring the guy back. So what I want to do is start off with a move tank object, and I'm just going to turn the motors on, and that will make the robot move forward indefinitely, right? It's gonna move forward until I give it a command to do something else. Actually, if you don't have a wait block, it just turns it on for an instant, but we're gonna put a wait block right away, and then it will wait for the next, for the criteria to be fulfilled to move on. So what am I looking for? I want to tell the robot to move forward until you see yellow under your color sensor. Right, so the color sensor can detect most of the primary colors. In my case, I'm using construction paper, and the colors aren't very pure. So in some cases, the red is a little pinker, and the robot doesn't see it as red. So anything that's on the Lego field, though, should be fine. Those colors should be the right tone of colors for the robot to see what it's supposed to see. So now I'm going to say that start the motors and wait until the color sensor finds the color, compare color, and I'm going to pick yellow, right? Because I want to go forward until such time as it hits the yellow paper. Now you'll notice I put the color sensor at the front of the robot, and that is so that the robot doesn't pass over the target before it kind of moves into the field. So it's the color is really going to be among the first things that it sees. So I want to move forward until it hits that color, and then I want it to stop its motors. So I'll just come up here and drag and move tank and turn the motors off. So now we have the robot moving until it finds yellow and then stopping. So now what do I want to happen? I want my medium motor, which is connected to my little cage that I built, to drop down about 45 degrees to come down on the little minifig. So this is a new block for us. This is called a medium motor block. You can tell it has a little picture of a medium motor. So we pull that up. We make sure that it's on the right port. It's always important to check and make sure that whatever you've plugged that motor into is actually what you tell the software to use. And so now I want the motor to turn for just a few degrees. So I'm going to turn on for degrees, and I'm going to have it turn for 45 degrees. I really just kind of figured that out by eyeballing it and then trying it a couple of different ways. You know, it's going to move 45 degrees from wherever you have it started from, so you want to make sure you always start it in the same place, so it always ends up in the same place, because the motor's just going to turn that many degrees. I am going to turn the speed that it is rotating down to about 25. Reason being, I found that if it was at 75, it would turn down too fast, and it would kind of slam into the table and sometimes knock the minifigure out of the way, or sometimes just it wasn't very accurate, or it would bounce. I didn't want that. So if you turn it down to 25, it will move it down a little more gently. Okay, so now hopefully, if our program has done what we want it to do, we've captured our guy in our cage. Now we want to turn our robot around. So we're going to do that with a move move steering. And I'm going to say to turn on for a number of degrees. And I just figured out through trial and error that with the treads that I have on this particular robot, that 1050 degrees was pretty much a full turnaround. It's not exact, but it's close enough just for our experiment today. Okay, so now I want to turn the motors back on because I want them to come straight back across. Turn that on. And now what I want him to do is go forward until such time that he hits the black paper. And I could look for black. I could detect for black with the color sensor, but I'm going to actually use the color sensor in a bit of a different way. I'm going to say, wait for the color sensor to change the reflected light intensity. And so what's going to happen is you'll see the color sensor, when it's using reflected light, turn red. When it's using colors, it will actually show kind of a rainbow spectrum looking color circles. When it's using reflected light, it will actually show red. And what it's doing is it's bouncing light off of whatever surface it's over and seeing how much light comes back up. So the white paper is going to reflect a lot more light than the black paper, right? And this is good for times when your colors might not be reliable. In my case, I was having problems with, it was seeing the color of the table as being red, and sometimes it was seeing it through the paper. So in this case, I could make sure that it was working all the time by saying whenever the reflected light is less than 20, it's going to move on to the next thing. Otherwise, it's going to wait. In the black paper, it has a reflected light intensity of about 12. The white paper has a reflected light intensity of about 60, but it varies a lot depending on what's underneath. So this is a really good way to kind of make sure that it stops when it hits black. You can actually use the port view here in the lower right to see what values you get from the sensor. You can see I have a different number when I'm over the white than I do when I'm over the black. And if you need to see what those values actually are to know what to set them to, you can connect the robot via USB and it will actually tell you what it's seeing at that moment. And you can use those values to figure it out. And so then the last thing I'm going to do is pull out another move tank. I have to move over a little bit here. Pull out another move tank. Pull out another move tank and tell it to stop. So, just to reiterate what this program does, the first thing it's going to do is move out at 75 speed. It's going to look for yellow and continue to move until it finds yellow under the color sensor. When it finds it, it's going to move on to stop. Once it finishes stopping, it's going to drop the medium motor 45 degrees at a speed of 25, hopefully dropping the cage onto my minifigure. Then it's going to turn around at a speed of 75 for 1,050 degrees. And in my case, like I said, with my treads, I found out that that was pretty much a full turn. Then it's going to move forward at a speed of 75 degrees, again, hopefully with my minifig captured. It's going to be looking for the reflected light intensity underneath the color sensor to be less than 20. And that's going to occur when it hits that black paper. And when that happens, it's going to stop. So we have a robot that is actually making some very rudimentary decisions rather than just moving forward at a speed or a number of degrees that we tell it to. It's actually moving until it has a certain criteria fulfilled, and it's making those decisions on its own, which is actually pretty cool. Perfect. Okay, guys, so practice that stuff today and on Tuesday, and I will be back next Thursday, and we will see how you guys are coming along. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me. Mr. McKinley knows how to email me, and Miss Hammer as well. So please drop me an email if you have any questions. Thanks.